Hey guys, another video for our Buying a House in Japan playlist. Some of you guys might remember these buildings at the back of the old farmhouse. A little workshop there on the right and a storeroom here on the left that we put all the materials that we found when we cleaned up the place 10 years ago. So this place was totally full of wood and pipe, all sorts of materials, metal, anything that we thought might be able to be used. That's concrete there. And it was pretty full. Some of you might remember, it used to be a pickles and something else room, and we tidied it all up, and then all the materials that we found that might be useful, we put in here. And over the years, over the last 10 years, we've used a lot of the materials, and as a result, this room's become not quite as full as it was. And we've started to think that maybe it's a bit of a waste of space having a whole room just to store bits of pipe and bits of wood in. Particularly seeing as the adjoining room is our second workshop that's used for big projects and does have a bit of space in it. So we started to wonder if the unskilled labourer could move all that material into here and still keep this space usable, because it's a very useful space, and free up the other room that might be able to be used for storing children in, or for children to entertain themselves in, or something like that. So we've had a couple of weeks of rain, so good time for an indoor project. So the unskilled labourer was told, get all the stuff out of that room, put it in this room, basically. So started doing it reasonably, trying to be reasonably tidy with it, and slowly sort of ended up just piling everything into this room. The idea being, once we could see exactly what we had, we'd have some sort of chance of organising it into some sort of tidy system. Also a bit of a stock take while we're doing this, of course. We're getting to find out what we've got. Because over the last 10 years, those of you who've seen the other projects that we've done, it was amazing what we found. You know, the old guy, I mean, we threw away 10 tons of stuff that we couldn't use, 10 ton of stuff. But the things that we kept, you know, the tools that we kept and these materials that we kept have been so useful. You know, we need a piece of 4-inch pipe. Go and have a look at, here it is. Need a 90-degree turn on a piece of pipe. Oh, there it is. And wood, you know, all sorts of wood. He had stuff scattered. Some of you might remember there was just stuff scattered everywhere. So we got organised, and that storeroom became where all the materials went, and the other room became where the tools went, and this room became where the bigger tools, the big drop saw and some other things came. And once we started getting stuff organised, some of you might remember, we found 2 of everything and 3 of everything and 4 of everything. Lots of new things too. Actually, this particular day we found a face mask, a proper ventilation face mask used for painting and things that was still in the packet, hadn't been used. So we're still finding things that we didn't know we had, that the old guy had put aside and never used, you know. They're interesting boxes, those. They're made of wood, but they have metal or tin linings. Quite useful boxes, so I'll put them away, use them somewhere else. Just wanted to have a listen to this sound, guys. Have a listen to what it sounds like, the rain on the roof, because it's a metal roof up there, right? So sort of pleasant. The other good thing about this couple of weeks of rain, it keeps the temperatures down. Usually this time of year we'd be looking at temperatures in the 30s, but it's been just under 30, 28, 29. The only downside, or sometimes 30, sometimes reaching 30, but the only downside has been the humidity. When it rains like this, the humidity's like 80%. So the body has a lot of trouble staying cool when you're working hard, so it's just sweat time, sweaty time, big time. So anyway, materials are out, a couple of shelves left to pull down, but there's the space, potentially a useful space you would think. And it's got the floor. See, the other room's got concrete, this has got a wooden floor. The wooden floor and the mud walls, the result of that is, it is actually a really dry space. You can see we've been walking on the floor, but those mud walls absorb the moisture, same as the main house. The mud walls and all the wood, the old dry wood, it really absorbs the moisture, so you don't get a tacky, sticky feeling like you do in new houses when it's 80% humidity every day for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it ends up being. We've still got another week of it, apparently. So here's our little attic up here. Some of you might remember we went up there about 10 years ago with a light and a camera, showed you what was up there. We pulled some things down that were useful, a few tables and things. A few old things. That's where we found the old bellows, the old blacksmith's bellows up there. So spotted that table. That table could be useful. The actual idea of this is we're going to want to store some things up here, but where we can reach them. We don't want things to disappear and not be seen again, which is what happened to the old guy apparently. But that table looks useful. That's a kotatsu. It doesn't have a heater under it, but we might be able to use that. We actually found about 5 kotatsu up there. And about 10 years ago, we pulled 4 of them down and cleaned them up, and we've been using them. They're very useful because we spend a lot of time on the floor in Japan, of course. So kotatsu, these low tables, see, short legs on it. So that one's not too bad. So we're going to haul that down, give that a clean up, see if we can make it usable. That's a big carpet there that's rolled up. That's actually in really good condition as well, but don't sort of want to use carpet for a job like that. You end up with hard to keep clean, you know. So don't want to use that ladder anymore. I've been using that ladder on and off for 10 years. Went up there a few times. It's taken the old guy's weight, but never trusted it. So threw the ladder up into the attic and used this ladder that we do trust. So just a few materials. We don't want to put a lot of things up there that we might want to use again. So just put them where we can see them, basically. So we need these shelf racks to put up shelves in the other room. So I have to take them out of this room and put them up in the other room so we can get some of the materials. The idea is we want to tidy up that storeroom, that workshop first before starting on this room, because we want to know what materials we've got and we want that workspace. So this is stage one. The stage one is to clean this room out. Oh, there's some rusty screw heads there, guys, so I had to grind them off. So yeah, stage one is to clean this room out, tidy it up a little bit, and tidy the other room up, know what materials we've got. We want those windows out, those doors out, those sliding doors, because that old glass is really dangerous as anything. If you hit it with something, when it breaks, it's not safety glass, of course, and it breaks in a really dangerous way. So we don't want that there if we're going to have kids in this room. So I want to get rid of that. But there's these insects. When it was a Pickle's room and he had other sundry food things in here, he had a lot of things growing, like, I don't know what it was. We'll show you in a minute. But it gummed up, these little bugs had gummed up these doors so that you just couldn't move them. And of course, you've got to be careful you don't break them. So I got one off and just covered in spider webs. Interestingly, and the same thing happened with the main house too. When we took it on 10 years ago, there was signs that things had been in this room, but nothing was alive. You know, there was no living bugs, and it's the same in the main house. There was food in the old house that had been in there for 10 years and was pretty dodgy, but there was no bugs. We didn't come across any cockroaches or mice or anything, and same in this room. There's lots of stuff outside. Some of you might remember we found snakes and centipedes and all sorts of stuff, but actually inside the buildings there was nothing. It's probably because they were extremely well made, and that seems to have kept a lot of the stuff out. So again, in this case, we pulled all those materials out. There was no sign of any living creatures at all. Occasional spider. There was an occasional spider. But we don't mind spiders. We quite like them because they tend to eat other insects. So what's happening here is the old guy's pulling up the runners that the sliding doors run on, because that door couldn't be lifted. You normally lift them to get them off the runners. It couldn't lift it. So took the runner off the floor and then used that, pulled that away to get the door out. So yeah, we don't want those doors around kids. And it sort of opens the space up a bit, right? We've got the outside door there. So the idea is at some point have a genkan where you step up there, so take your shoes off and then step up onto this wooden floor is sort of the thinking at this stage. A couple more shelves to bring down there. Oh, you just want to show you that stuff of mystery. Some of you might recognise what it is. There's the mud walls. The rough finished mud walls. They're not like inside the house, of course. They haven't had the final render put over the top of them, so they're just basically mud with bamboo on the inside. So this stuff, whatever it is, whatever animal it is that made that, whatever it is, it sort of laid eggs, which obviously haven't survived. And they didn't eat the wood, so that's a good thing, because Japan does have termites and things, white ants, but we haven't had any sign of that in any of the buildings at all. And again, because of the way they're made, some of you might have seen a video previously which showed the supports under the floor are all set on big rocks. So there's no way for white ants and things to get into the buildings. So the place was really well made. It really was. We're forever finding things. Look at this. Here's an example. See that brace that's holding up that shelf? I was looking at it and thinking, how can I get that out of the way? That's in the way there. And then I realised the guy put it down there. The brace on the left goes upwards, but up onto the ceiling. But this brace goes down. Why didn't you have them both go up out of the way? It's because he wanted to keep the shelf so that you could put long things on it. If you had two braces supporting the shelf from the ceiling, you wouldn't be able to put a long object on that shelf. So lots of stuff like that around the house. You look at it and go, wow, that's what? And then you realise why he's done it. He really did a good job. Everything he did a good job. Unlike this unskilled fat man who tends to do a bit of a dodgy job sometimes. So just putting another shelf up there for things that aren't quite as long, so the longest things can go up the top. A few more things can go on here. Just want to use wall space as much as possible, get things up off the ground. Because this room is a good room. When we've got big projects on and need a bit of space for something, particularly if it's raining or something, it's good to have this inside space. So I want to tidy it up again. Have all the materials where we can access them and see what we've got in some sort of logical sort of system. So again, putting things up in that attic, but putting them just so we can see them from the ground. So they're just inside the entrance to the attic so we could see what's in there. So yeah, the rain, unrelenting. We've had a couple of weeks already, every day. And so, as you can see, it's not always heavy, but it's just constant rain. So good time for this project. Whoa, sorry about that. Here we go. So, okay, how about if we put little bits of wood out from that beam up there? Because we've got things like those runners for that door, the doors that we just took down, those little runners from the floor. We've got a couple of those that are really long. We don't want to cut them because at some stage in the future, if we get a runner on a door in the house that gets damaged, it's good to have a spare. That's it there. That's like 4 meters long or something. And it's useful to have them long like that because you don't want to join them if you can avoid it. So that little system up the top there is just for long, light things, of course, like those runners, as we find more of them, as we tidy up that room. So this cupboard, the bottom half of the cupboard, we've got paint items in. Oh, that was a kimono dressing gown. It's actually in pretty good condition there. Sundry electronics. And some blankets. So we've kept just for painting jobs and things like that. We want to cover the floor. But decided, no, we'll go and put that in those timber boxes that we had before, the aluminium lined or tin lined wooden boxes, put them in there. And put a shelf in this cupboard. Seeing as we have bountiful materials, throw in a shelf. Just checked out that it fitted first, that the cuts were the right size, and now just threw a couple of screws on there just to keep it in place. Not going to put anything heavy in here. This is sort of for electrical conduit, bits of conduit and ducting, and just useful stuff like that that's worth a few yen. Just put it in there where we can find it when we want it. Want to keep it reasonably clean. Sometimes stuff like that's useful in the house, tidying up something and want to conceal a cable or something. So this is the before and after, guys. That's that room before we moved all the stuff in. So that's what it looked like before. Sort of underutilized, really, wasn't it? And this is what triggered this job. That one was underutilized, and so was the other one. So I was like, okay, so now that's what it looks like now. So it's still excellent, useful space, nice and tidy. We know the materials are there. We'll slowly use them up too, you know, as we've slowly used them up over the last 10 years. We'll continue to do so. Pretty happy with that outcome. And we'll do a little before and after for the storeroom. So this is going to be stage 2, right, this project. So this is what it looked like when it was full of stuff. There's those boxes. What's a pipe? But just so useful, you know, forever we're coming in here and going, oh, I wonder if we've got one of those, or I think I remember seeing one of them, and boom, there it is. Slowly we've got it down, and we don't buy stuff like he used to. We only buy what we use now, so we're not filling it up anymore, we're getting it down. So that's what it looks like now. So stage 2 is going to be doing something with it. So I've got a couple of ideas. Going to get started on that very soon, because it's still raining. Have to go get some materials, and we'll get started. And of course we'll film it all and show you, because there's 2 people out there that hassle us constantly about unskilled labourer jobs. This is for you. Anyway, that was stage 1. Stand by for stage 2. More videos coming soon.